Hello. Before we get started on today's episode, I wanted to let you know about a brand new thing that I've created for you over the holidays. It's the Speaking with Impact 7-day practice series, where over 7 days I'm going to teach you how to deliver a memorable message in any environment so that people listen and take note. 7 days, short, easy lessons that you can practice in your work environment, along with 2 live coaching calls. All of the details are in the show notes, and we kick off on Tuesday, the 27th of January. Head to impactfulpresenters.com to register, or, as I said, click the link in the show notes. Welcome to the first Speaking with Confidence with Kat Matson episode for 2026. Happy New Year. I hope you had a fantastic break and that you have started this year from a place of enthusiasm. Let's go with enthusiasm. If you are new here, this is the show where I coach you, impact-minded, humble leaders, whether you are in the public sector, whether you're a corporate contributor, whether you're a business owner, or if you're somebody like me who considers themselves a corporate hippie. I teach you how to show up, speak up, and land your message in a way that is confident, that is authentic, that is authoritative, and most importantly, is impactful, so you can make the contribution that you want to make to the world. Now, in today's episode, over the holidays, let me start again before I say in today's episode. Over the holidays, I reviewed the answers to over 2,000 responses to the question that I've been asking for the last 5 years. And that question is, what is the biggest challenge, frustration, or issue you have when it comes to speaking? And I've got over 2,000 responses. And so this year on the podcast, I'm going to spend a lot of time answering just those questions, addressing just those issues. And today, well, I think I'm answering one of the biggest ones. There is a consistent theme that comes in that says my mind just goes blank when I feel like I'm under pressure. And what I hear behind this concern is that people feel like they're a failure. They sit there and they say to themselves, I've got all this knowledge, I've got all this expertise, why can't I get it out? Why can't I get it from my brain to my mouth when it counts? So today I wanted to just unpack why this happens and honestly, why it's so freaking normal, why it's not about you and why it's not about you not being good enough and why it's normal. So the first thing that I really want to validate is knowing your content does not always mean that you can access it under pressure. I know, and in fact this is one of the reasons why I do this work. When I was sitting in public sector roles, senior public service roles, and I was asked a question about why I thought we should do something, if I wasn't prepared for that answer, if I didn't know that that question was coming from, well, I would start spinning out. My mind would have all of these reasons, all of the data, all of the information, all of the stories, all of the facts, all of the arguments, all of the evidence from around the world around why we should be doing something. For example, a lot of the arguments that I was making in the innovation space, why we should set up a startup space, why we should run open innovation. But because I wasn't prepared, the scramble in my mind would just start vomiting all of the random things. Now, why does this happen? Well, there's 2 key reasons. The first, when we're under pressure, our nervous system goes into a fight or flight response. Now, we can't flee, we can't run away, so what do? We go into a fight response. Now, when it comes to intellectual processes, that fight response is, let me prove just how much I know. Let me prove just how smart I am. Let me prove why we should do this and why I've collected all of this evidence. So our nervous system automatically kicks into a I need to fight response. Now, with practice, you can calm that nervous response. But here's the second reason why this happens, why our minds go blank, or why we struggle to find our words when we're put under pressure. Because for most of us, particularly if you're listening to this podcast, we think in pictures. We've also collected vast amounts of information that in our minds are stored in, different mental filing cabinet drawers. And it's a little bit like, when you lose earrings, you lose a pair of earrings and you start opening up all of the drawers to find that particular earring. And then when you, as you're opening up the drawer, you find all of the other things as well. That's what happens mentally when you are answering or responding to something on the spot. You're mentally going through all of the different drawers of your mind. Oh yeah, there was that study and there was that piece of information and there's that argument. And as you open up all of those drawers, you see other pieces of information. You see other examples, other case studies. And so what happens is you're mentally going through the drawers and you're thinking out loud as you go through. You're literally spitting out all of these things. Add that into being a visual processor, and you're trying to quickly articulate all of the different things that you can see in your mind. Now, for some of us, that will result in verbal diarrhoea. For others, it's a freeze because you have so many ideas crashing in your mind all at once. Now, for me, it was verbal diarrhoea. I'd just start, blah, 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 and I would watch my listeners' faces just completely, just overwhelmed. Just what is she carrying on about? But I know for many of my listeners, it's it's a mental freeze response. Your body has gone into fight mode, but because there are so many thoughts crashing in your head all at once, it's a blah, blah, blah. You feel a little bit like a gawping goldfish. The second thing that's going on when you are perceiving that you are under pressure is that we quite literally lose our words. Because the body's resources are now going into a protect mode. Any of the clever language, any of the clever arguments that we have previously formed, anything that we would happily put down on paper if we had the chance to write it out, that starts to dissipate and we revert to, 7-year-old thinking. And all of the things that we think makes us sound clever and intelligent and informed disappears. So we're going looking for all of the information that we know that we've got. But at the same time, our brain is constraining our ability to find words and even articulate thoughts that we would previously have had. What happens when all of this is going on and when this has happened to us over and over again in professional environments, whether it's talking to a camera, whether it's being asked to just deliver something on the spot, or whether you're being asked a question in a meeting and you should have the answer, but you can't get it out of your mind. What tends to happen is a few things. First of all, we leave those conversations telling ourselves, if I was just more confident, if I just backed myself more, I knew all of those answers. The problem is we are debriefing those situations from a place of a more regulated and calm nervous system. But when we're in those conversations, we're not calm or regulated. We're nervous. We're feeling under pressure. So when we walk out and when we debrief and we're telling ourselves, I should just be more confident, I should just back myself more, I should just be able to get that out, we're not taking into account, the fact that our minds weren't working in their optimal way. So this notion of just be more confident, just back yourself, that's not enough. It's actually not enough. You need to have you need to have a more, I'm going to say rehearsed, and I don't mean rehearsed in terms of you've spoken it, but a more rehearsed, a more congruent sense of who you are in these different conversations. Now, one of the ways that we can have this more rehearsed sense of who we are is what I call my Earn the Right framework, or more recently, my I Am story framework. And it's a way that I've seen over the last 5 years that people can establish authority to their listener, but also it actually establishes their own authority in their own mind. It's the most incredible way of managing imposter syndrome. I'm going to pop a link to just one of the times that I've spoken about this, and I've spoken about this a lot. But episode 83, How to Stop Imposter Syndrome in Its Tracks, is one of the ways that we can have a more grounded sense of who we are. So in those moments when we're put under pressure and we're being asked a question that we know the answer to, but we're struggling to find it all, when we can very quickly come back to who we are and why we know what we know, why we're an expert, why we have expertise, how it is that we have valuable insights to offer here, that helps calm the nervous system. So that frantic look around the mental filing cabinet drawers isn't so frantic, and we can actually take a couple of moments to collect our thoughts. The other way that we start to resolve this issue is to not perceive it as pressure. It's a very quick, oh, somebody's asking me a question. I know an answer to this. And having some techniques in play, asking for a little bit of time. Oh, that's a really good question. Just let me collect my thoughts on that for a moment before I give you an answer. Can be a really powerful way of not flipping into that fight or flight response. I'm going to talk more about this in coming episodes, because one of the other things that I'm very cognizant of, I've always been cognizant of, but I'm very aware of this year, is to provide enough information at a time that leaves you with something to play with and reflect on until you next listen to another episode, rather than overloading you with all of these different things that you could possibly do. Because goodness gracious me, if you're like me, you don't need more information. You don't need more how-tos. You need a little bit of guidance, and you need a bit of space to figure things out. So whilst the temptation for me definitely is to now give you a whole lot of solutions, I'm not actually going to give you any more solutions today. I'm just going to let you sit with this place of knowing it is perfectly normal, perfectly acceptable, and very, 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 very human to go blank, or to do the opposite, verbal diarrhoea, when under pressure. And what I would love for you to notice, just as you go about your day-to-day professional conversations, what is your physical response? What is your mental response? What's your emotional response when you are asked a question, or when you feel like you're in a place of pressure? And if you can instantly notice that, what can you do in the moment to take away that pressure? You might still want to answer the question, but can you just quickly say to yourself, this isn't a pressure situation. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to give them some thoughts. Or, I know the answer to this question. I'm just going to take a moment and collect my thoughts. Just notice how you respond. And as you notice how you respond, you will then develop some techniques and some strategies, some tactics to calm yourself before you go rummaging frantically through all of those mental filing cabinet drawers. Now, next week, in next week's episode, I am going to talk about how to stop rambling. So that's that verbal diarrhoea piece, as well as how do you calm that nervous system. So stay tuned for next week's episode. It will drop on Wednesday. And a reminder about the program that I'm offering. It's completely free, by the way, the 7-day Speaking with Impact practice series. And this series has been designed to give you really practical and tangible exercises. It's not a New Year exercise routine, but strategies and tactics that you can use in your day-to-day conversations that by the end of the 7 days, you will be speaking with more confidence, more authority, more authenticity, and with more impact. So you can land your message in a way that your people hear it and they take note. It's an entirely free 7-day practice series, and I've specifically designed it so you do have time to reflect and use it in your day-to-day life and then come back and build, rather than a data dump, rather than trying to absorb a whole lot of information. We have 2 live coaching calls on the Thursday and on the Monday, so you've got your opportunity to ask and have all of your questions answered, as well as receive some additional coaching around particular scenarios. So the link to that is in the show notes, or you can just head to impactfulpresenters.com. That's impactfulpresenters.com and sign up. As I head off and get on with my day and let you get on with your day, I have one final favour to ask. If this episode has been of value to you, if speaking with confidence, if speaking up and being heard, if making a bigger impact in your world is on your agenda for this year, then could you please follow and even rate this podcast on whichever platform you're listening? Why? Well, 2 reasons. For you, it means that you don't miss an episode. When you follow podcasts, they'll pop up in your feed. But the second reason is so other people like you can get the practical, no rah-rah, meaningful strategies for speaking up as themselves. Because I tell you, we need more diverse voices contributing to all of the conversations. And I see so much advice out there about just be more confident, just be more assertive, and that doesn't work. So if this episode has been useful, could you please rate it, leave a review, share it, just so more people can get the support that they need to contribute to the conversations that matter to them. Thank you. With that, we are done. I will see you next week, where we're going to talk about how to stop rambling, and I really hope that I get to see you in the 7-day Speaking with Impact practice series. Until then, here's to confidence and here's to impact. I'll see you soon.